Hey guys, it's Georgia B. Here we are again. I decided that I'm going to do the last 3 days in this one video. So firstly, day 12. We were up at 6:30 a.m. to leave for Cozzie's Cows for Cambodia farm at 7:30. On the way to the farm, we had to stop at the supermarket to pick up some more water and some snacks for the day as well. We also stopped at a local animal supply store to buy some drenches and also some live fish for the crocodiles. When we arrived at the farm, we were given a bit of time to have a bit of a look around. They have an enclosure where they keep 2 monkeys, very cheeky monkeys, and they also have a crocodile enclosure. And on the farm, they also have goats, pigs, and cattle. After feeding the monkeys and the crocodiles, we went upstairs to listen to a few of the volunteers who work on the farm, and Jet, our amazing tour guide, who also works with Cozzy. They explained what they do on the farm, how far it's come, and how much they're still planning to grow as well. So once we'd finished talking, we split into 2 groups. One group went off to the pigs and tried to vaccinate them with ivermectin, while the other group went to vaccinate all the goats with B12. I went with the goat group and was told by Wayne to take it easy, so I had the job of standing in the corner of the paddock to block the goats from getting through a hole in the fence. The goats were initially all in a fairly large paddock, so the group had to herd them into a smaller paddock in order to keep them all together. They then made a makeshift crush out of an old gate, and they herded the goats in small groups into the crush to be vaccinated before letting them out back into the main paddock. Surprisingly, it didn't take very long. The group worked really well together to get it done. The pig group didn't have as much success. They spent all morning trying to work out the dose rates for the ivermectin treatment, which was a feed additive. However, the pigs didn't actually receive a set ration, so the team ended up having to manually vaccinate each individual pig, which eventually got done. The 3 new cows that we brought had to be ear tagged, drenched and vaccinated for basically everything. Once these 3 cows were finished, we spent the rest of the afternoon vaccinating and drenching the rest of the cattle at the farm. After we'd finished vaccinating all the cattle, we left the farm to head back to the hotel. On the way back, I started feeling really nauseous and a bit mentally unstable. I'm not sure how or why it came on so suddenly, but unfortunately it does sometimes happen for me. Normally when it happens, I'm back home and my partner will help me through it. So this time was tough not having him with me. We stopped at a shooting range on the way back, but I couldn't get off the bus or I knew that I would throw up and fall apart. So I just sort of sat and waited for them to get back on the bus. Once we eventually got back to the hotel, I was given permission to skip dinner. I wasn't really hungry anyway, so I decided to go to bed pretty early that night. I think it was about 7:30 I went to sleep. So yeah, that was day 12. Day 13, mentally exhausting. It was the day for the rice run in Jet's homeland. I mean, I say it's mentally exhausting, and it was, but it was a fantastic day. I highly recommend it, and I thoroughly enjoyed it. We visited Jet's old primary school and organised a jumping castle for the children and played with them for a while as well. And then we set up the rice run by writing messages on all of the bags of rice that had been donated, and we loaded them onto 2 tractors. We split up into 2 groups and headed off to deliver the bags around the village. I was on a tractor with Jet as our guide, which was amazing because it was his homeland, and so he was able to tell us stories about the people in the village and why they deserve to receive a bag. we ended up donating 33 bags of rice, which is amazing, and it helped a lot of people, but at the same time, we wish we could have done more. There were so many people who were so grateful to be receiving a bag of rice, and there were so many heartbreaking stories as well. Many children had been left behind by their parents as they went to Thailand to find work. One group of children had been left for 15 years. So they were raised by their neighbours, basically. Like, 15 years, that's a long time to leave your children. But they just had to do it because they needed the money to live. Then there was one lady as well who had acid poured on her face by her ex-husband's new wife. And she was left blind with horrible acid burns on her face, which hit me pretty hard. It was tough seeing that. I'm never gonna forget that lady. But yeah, the rice run was something I urge everyone that visits Cambodia to do. It's incredibly humbling, and it's just a great experience. Following the rice run, we had lunch at a local restaurant in Jet's homeland, and it was delicious. We were also glad to just be supporting local business. After the late lunch, we were back on the bus and headed past Siem Reap to get to the party truck. Party truck was really fun experience, but it was very bumpy and very hard to stay upright without stepping on anyone. We also had some trouble with the generator releasing some smoke, so that was fun. But yeah, on another note, I thought I was doing so well. I'd managed to make it all the way up to day 13 without having to use a squatter. I tried so hard, but I could not wait to get back to the hotel, so I had to use a squatter one day off of being home. So yeah, I mean, I guess it's still a pretty good effort, 13 days without having to use a squatter, but yeah. While waiting for the generator to be sorted again, we had another one of our team debriefs in a local place of prayer, which was really nice as well. But once we finished our debrief, we were back on the party truck for another half an hour or so back to the bus to get back to the hotel. We had time for a quick shower before we went into Pub Street for one last group dinner. We went to a place that did some really, really nice wood oven pizzas, and they were yummy once we eventually got them. We didn't end up finishing dinner until about 11:15 at night. But yeah, after dinner, some of the group went out to a club, which I thought was a little silly, considering we had to be up at 5 a.m, but you know, what can you do? So instead I went back to the hotel room to pack up my stuff and get some sleep, even though I still only got maybe 4 hours. So yeah, that brings us to day 14, the last day of the trip. We were up at 5 a.m, like I said, to leave the hotel at 6. This is where we said goodbye to Jet. I can't even begin to explain how much we all loved him. He's a fantastic guy, and he just had some great stories to tell us on all the bus trips, and yeah, he was just amazing. So we all gave him a big hug before getting on the bus to go to the airport. Our first flight was Siem Reap to Kuala Lumpur. We arrived in Kuala Lumpur at about 11:45 a.m, and our next flight was due to leave at 3:35, so we had plenty of time to kill. We ended up spending an hour and a half of this time in a line. Just one line just went on forever, just trying to get through immigrations to get to the next gate. And because none of our flights on this day were connecting, we had to collect our bags between each stop, which made it a very tight schedule in the end. We then left Kuala Lumpur and arrived in Denpasar, Bali at about 6:45 p.m. We spent a long time here. Our flight was back to Adelaide wasn't until 11:50. So we had a lot of time to kill, but not enough to leave the airport. So we grabbed our bags, used them as pillows, and laid on the floor and relaxed in the airport. We were thankfully able to find somewhere to charge our phones and grab some food. So we did manage to kill the time, though it was pretty draining. The overnight flight back to Adelaide was not pleasant. By the time we landed in Adelaide at 6:25 a.m, I think I had about 5 hours sleep in about 48 hours. So we were exhausted. It was rough. Once we got back to Adelaide, we had a lengthy stay in customs, getting all of our clothes and boots cleaned so that we didn't risk bringing any diseases back with us, such as African swine fever. It was lucky we were really diligent with this, because since being home, the Cows for Cambodia farm was devastated by swine fever, so we were glad that we were so thorough with cleaning, which is good, but yeah, devastating for them, absolutely devastating. I was so glad to finally make it through customs and walk out to see my mum and my boyfriend. I had a great time on the trip, but I really did miss them a lot. So yeah, we finally made it home. We'd been through a lot together as a group. We were exhausted, we were happy, we were sad, and a million other emotions all at once. I'm so thankful to Wayne and Nikki Lee for organising this trip and keeping us all going. Yeah, they basically were just there constantly and absolute troopers. So yeah, and I was really just happy with the group. I know I said I got a bit frustrated at times, but as a whole, it was just amazing. So yeah. Yeah, that's it. Thank you for watching these video diaries. I hope they've been semi-entertaining and informative. I'm going to make one last video as well, so you can all see some photos and videos from the trip, a few highlights and that. So look forward to that. And yeah, don't forget to like and subscribe. This is Georgia B signing off. No money, no honey.